Hello, welcome to Johansson Reading number 8. Kinnu sattoti pachesi mara detti gatannute Suddha sankhara punjoyam nayata satupalabhati Yatahi angasambhara hoti saddorthoeti Evam kandhesu santesu hoti sattoti sammuti. And again. Kinnu sattoti pachesi mara detti gatannute Suddha sankhara punjoyam nayata satupalabhati Yatahi angasambhara hoti saddortho iti Evam khandesu santesu hoti sattoti sammuti. So kim means what. Also as a general interrogative particle, standing typically at the beginning of a sentence. It can mean why as well. Kinkaranam, for what reason, but just kinnu, why then? Kinnu, nu is just this a modal particle, nu meaning then. Those of you who know Polish or Russian, you get the same particle nu in those languages, meaning the same kind of thing there. Then it doesn't alter the meaning of the sentence, just as a modal particle. Kinnu, why then? I, to go, prati I, to go back to, or to lean on, to rely on, to depend on. For example, in our doctrine of dependent origination, it is pratitya samutpada, the samutpada, the co-origination, independence on something. I'll just explain that bit to you actually on the iPad with pratitya samutpada. iPad, hang on. Yeah, the root I, one of the words meaning to go. The absolutive having gone would be itva. Where you have a prefix to the verb, as you know in Sanskrit, you can't use twa, have to use a ya instead of twa. Note that for roots that consist of, as here, or end in a short vowel, you add in a t before the ya, so itya. So prati, looking at Sanskrit now, prati itya becomes pratitya, and in Pali that is the praticca. That's how we get praticca sampada, dependent co-origination. And we've had very recently this phrase pecha, meaning having gone beyond. It means, after death, after you're dead, pecha. We have in the Dhammapada, idha surchati, pecha surchati. Surchati, he grieves. Idha surchati, he grieves here. Pecha surchati, having gone beyond, he dies. So pecha, pra plus I plus kya. Pra, having gone forth, meaning having gone forth from life into death. So praitya in Sanskrit, by santi, the ai becomes e, so that becomes pretya, and that is how we get in Pali pecha, having gone beyond. And a preta, in Pali peta, meaning somebody who has gone beyond. In modern Hindi, the word pret is often used to mean a ghost of the dead who comes back to haunt the living, often known as bhut, pret, bhut, bhuta, been, people who have been, pret, modern Hindi, they lose the final a, so preta becomes pret, so preta, pret, somebody who's gone beyond, therefore a ghost, so praita, somebody who has gone beyond, gone forth. Now the meaning, the way it's used here, kinnu satoti purchasi, root I. In Sanskrit, it's you gunate the vowel, the e, esi, eshi, eti, he goes, eshi, you go, eti, he, she, it goes. In Sanskrit, pratyeshi means you go back to it or you rely on it. Like, why do you keep going on about that? There's pachesi, you rely on it, go back to it, fall back on it. In Sanskrit, pratyeshi becomes pratyeshi, and that is why in Pali it becomes pachesi. So kimnu satoti pachesi. Kimnu, why then? Pachesi, do you go back? Satoti, ti meaning saying. Why do you go on and on about a sato? Why are you constantly talking about a sato, meaning a being, as if a living being, as if it's a full entity? Kimnu satoti pachesi. Why do you go back on saying sato, a satta, a being? Mara, that's the vocative here. Oh, Mara. This is the nun Vajra talking to Mara, who's trying to persuade her that human beings are kind of fully self-existent objects or entities. Mara titi gatannute. To understand this construction, you get gum to go. It makes its past participle gata, neuter form gatam. If you say he has gone, one way of saying it is gone by him, gatantena. So there has been a going, it has been gone by him, meaning he has gone. If you are ditti gato, you are gone to views, or got yourself into views, absorbed in views. Ditti gatannute, te is the abbreviated instrumental by you. So there has been a going, there it has been gone to views, there has been a view going by you. In other words, you have fallen into these views and opinions. Ditti gatannute. It is view gone by you. Suddha Sankara Punjoyam. Suddha means pure. And pure, both in English and in Pali, can have a literal meaning, pure, clean. And it can also mean pure nonsense. Nothing clean about it. It doesn't mean total nonsense, mere nonsense. Nothing but nonsense. So pure. So Suddha Sankara Punjoyam. Yam, full form iyam, meaning this. Punja is one of the several words meaning a heap or a pile of something. So Suddha Sankara Punjoyam. This, meaning this Satto, ayam Satto, this Satto is a Suddha Sankara Punjo, a pure heap of sankharas. There's nothing but a mass of sanskaras, basically. A pure sanskara heap. Nayita satupalabhati. Na idha, not here, in other words, not in this heap of sankharas. Nayidha, that ya is just inserted euphonically. Let me pull up my text again, sorry. So nayidha is na, followed by idha, and the ya inserted just euphonically instead of na idha, nayidha. Satupalabhati. Satupalabhati is in fact is satto upalabhati. No being is to be found, literally obtained. There's no being to be found here. Now, note this active and passive. I'll call up my iPad again. There we are. Lab, same in Sanskrit and Pali, labhati. Present tense, he, she, it obtains or gets, lab. Now in Sanskrit, regularly, this is regular, just put a y after the root, labhyate, and put the atmanepada. Labhyate is now the passive. Put in the y and make an atmanepada ending. Labhyate, it is obtained. In Pali, what happens? The bhya, bhy, becomes a double bh. So lab. And as we know, the virtual disappearance of the atmanepada, you have the parasmaipada, or parasapada ending. So labhati. And you'll see that in Sanskrit, very clear distinction, labhyate, labhati, labhyate. In Pali, the only distinction between the active labhati and the passive labhati is that doubling of the consonant. And you'll very frequently see that, so be alert for it. Pach, to cook, right? Pachati, present tense. Same in Pali. Cooks, somebody cooks. Cognate with the English word to bake, by the way. Now, passive, look at that. In Sanskrit, performed regularly, pachyate. But in Pali, it becomes pachati. So be alert for that. Pachati with a single ch, I'm talking about Pali now. Active, pachati with a doubled consonant, passive. You'll see it in lots of places. For example, hanati, kills. In Sanskrit, it becomes hanyate. In Pali, and you now put a tilde. So hanati, hanyati. Hanati kills, hanyati, representing the nya in Sanskrit, is killed. Be very alert for that, because you can then confuse between active and passive if you don't spot the doubling of that consonant. So upalabhati, nayata sattu upalabhati, there's nayata sattu upalabhati. There is no satta, no being. It's a sattva in Sanskrit. There is no being to be found here. Yathahi, yatha, as, yathahi, just as, exactly like. Angasambhara. Anga, you had this, the word meaning a limb, and by extension, a constituent part, an ingredient of something, a component part. Sambhara, sambhara means carrying together, and therefore it means an assemblage, bearing together, bringing together. So anga sambhara means a collection, an assemblage of component parts. Anga sambhara, a part bringing together, so an assemblage of component parts. So yatahi anga sambhara, just as assemblages of component parts. Hoti saddo rato iti, hoti there is, saddo the word, rato chariot, iti thus. So there are these assemblages of component parts, and so we have the word chariot. In other words, we see an assemblage of component parts, and we call it by the word chariot. Hoti saddo rato iti. The iti here, thus, means we're quoting the word rato. Hoti saddo, there is the word, quote, rato, unquote. So hoti saddo rato iti. That means so we see an assemblage of component parts and we call it a chariot. Evam khandesu santesu hoti sattoti sammuti. Evam, not to be confused with eva. Evam is thus. We all know that word. Most suttas begin evam maya sutam. Thus by me heard. Thus have I heard. Evam khandesu santesu. This is a locative absolute. Means things being so. We have it in English, that being so, the work being finished, and so on. We use the Latin. Latin has the ablative absolute, like God willing. In English, we say it in Latin, Deo volente, in the ablative, God willing. Things being thus. Latin, rebus sic stantibus, in the ablative plural, rebus and stantibus, rebus sic stantibus, things thus standing, means since things are standing in that way, means that being the case, rebus sic stantibus. So, sant, from santa meaning being, so khandesu santesu means since the khandas, the khandas exist, thus, with these skandhas existing, or because of the existence of these skandhas, hoti satoti sammuti. So it could separate the satoti. Ti is just the shortened form of iti. So evam, in the same way, thus in the same way, khandesu santesu, the skandhas existing, meaning since the skandhas exist, they are there. Hoti satoti sammuti. Sammuti means agreement. In Sanskrit, sammati, mati from man, to think. Sammati, thinking the same way, therefore agreement, convention. In Pali, you can say sammati or sammuti, because the at becomes an u by attraction to the preceding labial mati muti. It's the same word. You can't have sammuti in Sanskrit, so it would always be sammati. Pali, you can have sammati or sammuti. So hoti satoti sammuti. So there is hoti sammuti, there is the convention, the conventional truth, the conventional way of saying things, sato iti. So by convention, we say sato ti, sato, unquote, meaning a being. So just as with this anga sambhara, did I say that was a plural? Of course it's an ablative. Anga sambhara, from, the ablative of cause, from an assemblage of component parts. Hoti sadoratoti. There is this word rata, a chariot. Sorry, silly me if I told you that was a plural. Of course it's an ablative singular, sambhara, by reason of an assemblage of part. Even khandesu santesu, thus, in the same way, khandesu santesu hoti satoti sammuti. Sammuti, there is the convention, hoti sato. It is a satta. It is a being. So I'll read this once more. Kinnu satoti, this is the nun, and what's the name, Vajra talking to Mara. Kinnu satoti pachesi Mara ditti gatannute. Sutta sankara punjoyam nayita sattu palabhati. Yatahi angara sambhara hoti saddo ratho iti. Evam khandesu santesu hoti sattoti sammuti. And that's it for reading 8.